And a lot of what I'm going to say in this overview stuff is already in that welcome video that I posted. If you had a chance to look at it, great. What I'm going to say is not going to hurt you to hear again, because when you're as well as I do, when you're starting a semester, there's a whole lot of kind of everything, there's a whole lot of chaos, or it feels hectic, right? And so you might forget that so and so said this in this class and such said something else in some other class, and it's further kind of blended together or blurred together by the fact that we are meeting in not in separate classrooms on campus, right? But on the same screen every time. Okay. All right. So not so it shouldn't it's not a bad thing for you to hear stuff again. Okay. I'm going to also, one other thing I should point out, because I'm looking at a chat. If I say a name that I see, but it's not the name you go by, correct me, right? I go by Mia. If you see MIA, you might think Mia, you might think Maya, but you won't know what I go by unless I tell you, right? So, Mia. So I see Kenneth. Where's Kenneth?
I'm here.
There's Kenneth. Okay, thank you, Kenneth. I see Kenneth asking the following question. I saw some of your videos of class from last semester on YouTube. Are these meetings going to be broadcast? I'm going to try to do that, Kenneth. For Film 9, I like as much as possible to record meetings and then post them, so that folks who can't make a meeting can still access. But like I said a moment ago, I don't know if I'm going to be super consistent with it. Right? I'm going to try. Is that a good thing for you, or a not so good thing, or is it neither? You're just asking.
Oh, I'm just asking.
Okay. All right. If you don't want, here's the reason why I ask, Kenneth, is if any of you don't want, to be identified on a video, I don't know that I'm going to be able to. I just won't have the time to like gray out names or whatever. So, if you were to say to me in advance, hey, I don't want to be on a video, then I'll defer. I'll either say, well, maybe don't come to class and watch the video that I do make, or I may defer to your request and not record the class. But by and large, I mean, it's as long as you're comfortable with, your card, your tile being on in a video, then you should be okay. All right. So, going back now to the name thing, what I'm not going to do, just because it takes time that I think is better devoted to class stuff, is I won't go through the roster, but I take very seriously the commitment to getting your name right. So, like I said, if the name on the roster or the name on one of these Zoom tiles is not what you use, tell me what to call you. It's your name. I want to get it right. Okay. All right. So let's start with our course homepage. And I think you're gonna have to bear with me because I'm in the wrong course. There we go. Right. We are Phil 9, right? That's what we want. That's what we're meant to be working together on this semester.
Philosophy 9, yes.
Okay, thank you. I don't know who that was because I moved the I can't see all of our tiles, but this is, it's not just working in this way that's made me extra goofy. I'm kind of that way anyway. But so I apologize in advance. So I don't know who that was who spoke, but thank you. Okay, so give me a shout if you can't see our Phil 9 homepage. And by the way, I'll always take silence as approval. One other thing, let's see, hold on just a sec. Let me find the chat again. When I go to different windows, I lose the chat. There's the chat. Okay. Okay, so the layout, I hope, is not a visual clutter. The idea is to make the navigation as straightforward for you as possible. I also recognize that you're taking other classes. The layout for other classes might be different. So I try to keep things as straightforward as can be. Besides which, I'm kind of I'm not good at complicating things, or I do so inadvertently. As you already know, the far left navigation strip is permanent, right? So it doesn't matter what Pierce course you're in, this stays the same. Something new that we have that I'm very excited about, and I'm circling the icon with my cursor, is the student support link. So, for years I had assembled loads of resources, even, when we're on campus, I would say, okay, and I'd use Canvas as sort of a hub for our work together. I would say, okay, here are a bunch of resources. Here's the link for these resources. But now the college is actually doing it for us, which is quite nice. Why am I mentioning this? For a couple of reasons. One is you want to take advantage of these resources. Maybe not all of them, but at least some of them. So it's super important. In fact, one of the resources, and it may be of use to somebody maybe not to you, but is a basic needs resource. We're going to have a visitor at the end of class who's going to share a little bit of what the Brahma Pantry offers, which I think, especially given the stresses that you've all been under, certainly since the pandemic, but even before, is very, very helpful. And another great link is the tutoring link. It should be the case that this link goes to the Center for Academic Success. Yeah, so just so you know, the Center for Academic Success is Pierce's free, presently online tutoring center. All your courses should have tutors associated with them. We get, in point of fact, for Phil 9, an embedded tutor. So more on that later. But if you're taking multiple philosophy courses, or if you're taking, or whatever other courses you're taking, the tutoring center is a great place for you to get help. Okay, so there's that. Then the next set of links over are the links that I've customized for us. So part of the syllabus, I'll just leave you to read on your own, because it's standard boilerplate stuff. Then we've got announcements. I will try not to burden you with lots of announcements, because that ends up cluttering your world. But by and large, if there's something that I really want to share with you, or it's something I think you need to know, I'll post the announcement. Then we've got my office hours. You'll see what they are once we get to the syllabus, but if you want to drop into office hours, click on the relevant link. Please know, if you cannot make office hours, it's fine. I'm still here to help. Okay? I don't want you to feel like you can only come to see me during office hours. I see people outside of office hours. And then, of course, we've got the class roster, the grade roster, and then the cloud. I believe it's the case that you access the Office suite, Excel, PowerPoint, Word, all that. You access that through the SIS, through the Student Information System portal. I think this is just a link for cloud, but it's still helpful. Then the center is basically of the page is kind of the meat of our stuff. So we're in the start here portion, right, where we're doing the orientation today. It's kind of a standard day one meeting. I'm going to come back to this link shortly. You've already got our virtual classroom link, which is awesome. We've got course additional materials or class resources. More on that later. Our awesome embedded tutor, Lindsay Lazo, they're going to tell you more about their schedule in a bit. Or is it Lindsay or is it Connor? Actually, I think maybe it's not Lindsay. Whoever our embedded tutor is, it's either Lindsay or Connor. But that tutor is somebody you can connect with via their special discussion forum, but they'll also host office hours. So you can get help there. And then this is a general discussion forum where I encourage you to post questions, problems, confusions. So you might want, for example, to get, a study group going where, you meet with each other, you schedule meetings via, via the Zoom program or whatever it is you want to use. And you might, set up send out the query by posting on this discussion forum. Okay, and then we have our schedule. So here's the pattern that you're going to see recurring. Learning objectives and topics, resources, assessments. Learning objectives and topics, resources, assessments. Learning objectives and topics, right? You get the idea. How do these play out? Well, let's start with week number 1. The learning objectives and topics are going to be, depending on how you learn, minimally helpful, right? They'll be more helpful to you once you've been working on the material. That said, like I said, depending on how you learn or depending on what your background is, you might find that the topics very helpful in orienting your thinking. If we click on the next button, we page over to our resources page. And here, you'll get what we're going to read. And there's a link. Now, the link doesn't take you to the specific chapter of the textbook we're using. It just takes you to the website. So I'm not that fancy, but you can click on the link to get to the website. And then there are videos. You're going to find at some point maybe an overload of videos. They're all optional. They're meant to support you. They're not meant to make you feel overwhelmed. Okay. So our textbook author, Ian Schnee, has made lots of kind of explainer type videos to go with his book. And some people love his videos for a number of reasons. So try them out. It can't hurt. You might find you love them, might find you love some, but not others. I also post videos, but I don't have really any videos on this textbook yet. And the reason for that is neither here nor there for you, but I am going to start making some. So you might find the videos helpful. And then if you page on over to the last page under week number 1, you get your list of assessments. So we're going to want to work on completing our first quiz by Sunday. But this is important, so file it away or write it down or whatever. Each quiz that you take has a due date, but the due date is there to keep you on track. It's not the same as when the link closes, when the quiz is no longer available, when the deadline occurs, when the available until is met. So if I click on quiz number 1, you'll notice that we've got a little bit of a window. Under other conditions in other words, sorry, let me rephrase that. Some other quizzes have a much longer window, and I'm going to explain to you in a little bit why that's the case. Suffice it to say, if you need a little bit more time, that's fine, take it, because the thing won't close until the 15th. Notice also, and this is the case for every single quiz, your quiz attempts are unlimited. I think of the quizzes for this textbook as opportunities for you to practice. And then when you're either done, you don't want to practice anymore, or the link closes or whatever, then you can check your work. And then presumably you're prepared for the exam. Okay. Now it should be the case even after a quiz closes that you can access it so that you can see, you can review your work, right? It just means you can't take the quiz again. Okay. All right. So let me just back out of that. We'll talk more about assessments, but that's the basic idea with the quizzes. The quizzes are your opportunities to practice. You have unlimited attempts until the close date. And the reason why after the close date you can't take the quiz anymore is because that's when the answers are available. Okay. Now, remember I said that each week is laid out the same. So we just finished week 1, and here's week 2, learning objectives, topics, and the resources, the chapters and sections that we're going to read from given chapters, and videos. Again, please don't let yourself feel overwhelmed by the videos. They are there to facilitate your learning, and they are entirely optional. And then we page over to the next button, or click the next button again, and we have our first exam. Now you might say, holy moly, Mia, what are you doing? Our first exam after, just 1 week? That's evil, that's awful. Well, my thinking here is this, and let me just stop the share for a moment. My thinking here is this. I want to make sure that you have some goal fairly quickly in your schedule toward which you work, so that you don't kind of put things off. Here's why. In this particular course, we have, I mean, you can think about it in terms of scaffolding. You can think about it in terms of building. You can think about it in terms of progression of concepts and skills. So even if it's the case that, let's say, I don't ask you on, exam 3 to answer to work some exercise that's involved in, quiz number 3, it's still the case that the skills and content knowledge that you're developing and honing and refining early on in the semester are brought forward to the work that you're doing at any given time. So that's why I kind of put that exam early on. Thereafter, there's a good bit more space from between exams. What are exams? How many exams and how many quizzes and stuff we have? So here's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to go to the syllabus, but first, I've been trying to keep an eyeball on the chat. Does anybody have any questions, problems, confusions? Again, this is just sort of boilerplate, day 1. This is how our course is going to work stuff. But don't be shy if you have a question. Okay, so Kenneth, great question. Does everybody see? So Kenneth asks, are the exams remotely proctored? All right, so am I right to think, Kenneth, here, let me stop the share for just a sec so that we can look at each other. Am I right to think, Kenneth, that by proctored you mean somebody actively monitoring you?
Yes.
Okay, answer, no. I rarely will tell you what I believe or think about anything, even when I have really strong views. In this case, I make an exception. Here's what I think about your work in this class. You're here because you're serious. You're here because whether you love logic or you just have to take the course or, you're curious, whatever. You're here because you're serious. You're also an adult. And I meet people with the following assumption that as adults, we can manage our own lives, right? So even if I weren't working with adults, I'd take a very similar approach, which is this. I don't walk into a meeting thinking that people are untrustworthy and need to be proctored. Okay, so I will make this point. I did keep something that Dr. Schnee, who wrote the textbook, offered Dr. Gillis and I when we decided to adopt this book. I did keep his honor code on the exams, because I think it's nice. I mean, I sign honor codes, right? But my thought is, you're going to I think it's disrespectful to assume that you're going to try to find a way to cheat. At the end of the day, if you do want to cheat, you're actually just cheating yourself because it will bite you in the butt eventually, right? Also, the way that the course is set up is if one person decides to cheat, they're not going to be sort of getting away with something that the other class members who are authentically present, right, aren't getting away with. So short story is no. So the assessments are open. You can, so for as long as the assessments are open, you can access them. The exams you access once, but there's a retest for each exam. More on that in a little bit. So the exams you access once, but for as long as the exam is open, you decide when you want to take the thing. Do I think you should let work pile up? No. Do I think you should find a way to cheat? No, of course not. But I mean, I'm not going to, I'm not going to infantilize you. Okay? Unless you give me a reason not to trust you, I trust you. I'm here to do the work and I know you are too. Okay, that was a much longer answer than you probably wanted, right? Okay, so back to the syllabus. So thank you for those excellent questions, Kenneth, about the videos and the exams. So here's our syllabus. Remember, my office hours may not work for you. If they don't, then we'll find another time to meet. Our textbook is a web-based book. Dr. Kara Gillis and I are basically the only two faculty at Pierce that run this course. We, a long time ago, made the decision to always use the same textbook so that we'd have continuity across sections of Phil 9. And when the pandemic struck, we decided to find a web-based textbook so that folks who weren't able to, basically, if there are folks who used to go to the library to do their work because they didn't own a computer. Now how are they supposed to do their work? Well, on their phone. Okay, fine. But the textbook we were using required people to have a computer, right? So we decided that we'd switch up our textbook, and it was Dr. Gillis actually who found Ian Schnee's The Logic Course Adventure. More on that shortly, I promise. So here's the boilerplate stuff. But now let's talk a little bit about the assessment. So we've got quizzes. There are 10 quizzes. And you will, like I said, have unlimited attempts until the quiz is locked. Once the quiz is locked, you get the answers. And the point that in all of this is practice, practice, practice. Check your work so you're prepared for an exam. And then each exam covers material that you should have seen, or a version of what you saw, or directly related to what you saw on a quiz, right? So quizzes and exams. How many exams? A total of 4. And they're spread across the semester, okay? And like I said, the exams are, each of the exams is one shot, but there's a retest for each exam. And so if you want to practice more, or if you don't like your score, or you just want to see if you can score the same or better, doesn't matter. There's no harm, no foul in retesting an exam. I take the highest of your 2 scores. Okay. All of this work is completed on Canvas, and I promise I won't be watching you. More boilerplate stuff, and then our schedule, right? So the schedule is laid out, week 1, and then week 2, week 3, and so forth. Okay, so before moving on to talk about the textbook, how are we doing? Does this make sense? Questions, problems, confusions?
So, Professor, this is Priscilla. So again, with the retest or the retests and the quizzes and the tests, so do you take like the first score, or do you take the highest score? I believe you said the highest score, right? But out of all of the times that we do it, or how does that work?
Right, great question, Priscilla. Okay, so for your quizzes, and there are 10, you are, let me back out of that sentence because it was going to be a grammatically awful one. Let me start over again. Okay, so there are 10 quizzes. Each quiz is unlimited attempts, is set for an unlimited number of attempts, I should say, within the window that the quiz is open. And then once the quiz closes, I have Canvas set to take your highest score. So, I mean, you can take the quiz 100 times if you want. And maybe it's your 80th score that's the highest, or, who knows what, doesn't matter. Or maybe you take the quiz once and you get 100, then you're done, right? Take the quiz as many times as you want. Suppose you take it 10 times and your first score is better than your last score. Your first score is 100 and your last score is a 70. Canvas logs the 100%. Okay, so Canvas takes your highest score of the quizzes. There are 4 exams, each of which is a single attempt, but you can retest the exam. It's not the same exact exam, but the format's the same, the type of exercise is the same, the number of exercises the same. And it doesn't matter which is your best score on the 2 exams, I take your best score. Yay. Ooh, I got a thumbs up. Thank you. All right, so here's my advice. If you haven't done it already, take a look at Dr. Schnee's Logic Course Adventure Orientation video, because he built the course, right? He built the book. He's the best person to give you a tour, right? Here's what I can tell you though. Here's a link to where you can buy the book, but let me back out real quick just to show you. Okay, here is another link to the book, right? So if I click on the book, first though, tell me if you are seeing the Logic Course Adventure homepage based on what I've shared.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so short story about this text. This text covers the standard material for a course like this. It doesn't matter where you take this course. So for example, Pierce worked really hard to make sure that this course has a one-to-one transfer with Berkeley's logic course. It's called an articulation. So Berkeley sees our course as legit, so does UCLA, so does CSUN. And that's because they cover the same material. Or it doesn't matter where in the United States you go, if you take a symbolic logic, a formal logic, an introduction to logic that's focused on symbolic logic, it's the same material. Right now, there are different versions of the material, but you're getting kind of the same stuff. And Ian Schnee, who's a philosophy professor at University of Washington, like I said, wrote this book with the tablet using the mobile device using, whether it's a tablet or a phone, population in mind. So the symbolization that we use in formal logic, he's adapted to make it easy for your thumbs, if that makes sense. Okay, so this is our textbook. You can get to our textbook in one of 2 ways. Either scroll to the bottom of the page and click on Find Your Class's Textbook, and then you'll see Pierce College, or, bear with me, remember I was here on our homepage under handouts, additional practice, blah, blah, blah. I should have just put course resources. Maybe I'll change that title, but you could also click under Start Here and then click on the Here link, and it takes you to the same page where you click on Pierce College, right? So what you don't want to do is you don't want to click on, Illinois Wesleyan or something, you want to click on Pierce. And then Gillis has 2 sections. I just have the one, so there's the one link here. You're going to click on the link for our course. And then you're going to, oh, I'm logged out. Or I mean, I already am logged in. Let me log out. Let's suppose that I haven't bought it. Sorry. Okay. So then you click on Get Textbook. And then you're going to enter that code. I'm going to blur this out, but since I post this on YouTube, but you enter that code, and then you'll see that it's free. Click on Proceed to Checkout, and then you're going to enter your info. One thing you should do is this. If you don't, because the only reason why that you're required to enter your personal info, like street address and so forth, is if you were buying the thing and using a debit, credit card, or whatever, right? But if you're getting it free, and you're welcome to buy the text if you want to contribute to the cause, but if you're getting it for free and you do not want to put your private information in the fields, obviously first name, last name, that's important. You do want that. But you could always put Pierce College's street address. Okay. And then when you're done, place order, blah, 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 and then you're in. Okay, so I'm going to stop my share for just a sec. How are we doing? What do we think?
I have a question about the textbook.
Yes, and tell me what is the correct pronunciation of your name?
Arshak.
Arshak. Thank you, Arshak.
Yeah. So my question is there any way to get the textbook physically, like get an actual textbook, or is it only online?
Great question. And yeah, it'd be really cool. Well, short answer is it's only online. Now, it may be the case that eventually, he'll offer a version that a hard copy version. But the reason why it's online only, Arshak, is because it's interactive. So on any given page, we'll look at some of it together, but on any given page of the textbook, you might be typing in some information or clicking or whatever, and then getting feedback. So, I'm a big fan of having pencil paper. I love it. I love having books in my hand. So, that's the only downside is that we don't have a paper copy of the book. That said, I actually have I've done some copying and pasting and, creating Word documents, but I know that's a bit work intensive. Great question about the text. Anybody else? Questions, problems, confusions that you want to get to? Sorry, I'm trying to get there's my cursor. Okay, so let's, so a couple of things. One, there's a Pierce representative from the Brahma Pantry who's going to be coming in a little bit. I invited her to come and chat with you guys. I think it's important that Pierce College services are, widely publicized, and that folks from the college can come into various classrooms to chat with you. So this is the first person who's coming to chat. But before she comes in, here's what I'd like us to think about. One is this. So, okay. So you're back. You see the Logic Course Adventure site, correct? Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Sometimes I get a little lost. All right. So let's do this. I'm going to click on the home page. You're going to notice, so click on week 1 assessments. You're going to notice that when you take the quiz, there's material that looks very similar, even in terms of the language used. For example, names, right? That that look very similar to what we see in the textbook. So my advice, if you can do this, is to put the quiz on one side of your screen and the textbook on the other side of your screen, and basically have access to your text while you're working a quiz, right? Because that, I think, is a great way to learn by doing. And logic, believe it or not, is the sort of study that actually is about building skills, right? So you are a logical person in a loose sense of that word, which is to say you are a person who reasons, right? You deliberate, you justify, you defend, you contemplate, right? I mean, there are all sorts of ways in which we can say you're a logical person. We often think that because we're logical in that loose sense, that we don't have to sort of get better at it, but we do want to think of reasoning as a skill to improve. And the cool thing about our study is that it doesn't matter what your major is. So I know that a lot of you, I presume anyway, that a lot of you are computer science majors. But it doesn't matter if you're a computer science major, a biology major, a literature major, a poli-sci major, right? History major, doesn't matter. The skills that we develop in this course are going to serve you well anywhere you go. And it's not because you're going to be working in your daily lives in the formal deductive systems we're going to be studying. That doesn't happen. But the sort of strategic reasoning skills, the reading, the sort of the ability to, the skill of being able to pick out the salient features of reasoning, all of that, those are skills that will follow you anywhere you go. So here's my advice, with that in mind, and as we're getting ready to launch into the material itself, is this: consider maybe opening up the quiz side by side. Remember, it's an unlimited attempt deal here. Open up the quiz, put it side by side with your textbook, right? And then work the quiz in a learn by doing way. Now, that said, you will see that I offer, I need to post more with this newer, with this version of the systems that we're going to be learning, but you'll see that I have a bunch of additional practice, right? So if you find that after reading the textbook and maybe taking a stab or two at the quiz, that there's some things that you want more practice, but you're not finding a sufficient amount of practice in the book, go ahead and pick out the relevant practice in the additional practice that I post. Okay. All right, so let me come back over. Bear with me. Am I right that you're now seeing we're deep in chapter 2 of the Logic Course Adventure? Yep. Okay. Thank you so much. So here's the way that the text lays out. So once you are, you've watched the orientation that Dr. Schnee gives you. Once you're in the textbook, you'll always have this navigation table of contents link. I don't know what the best word is to use, but you'll have this on the left-hand side, and you can just page through the text by clicking on this, that, or the other section. what you're going to notice is that there are a lot of chapters in the book. So we're going to end up, I don't know if I'm still logged in. Let's see. I don't think I am. Bear with me. Yeah, I don't think I'm logged in. Point is that we're going to be going through like 30 chapters in the book, but don't think that it's a huge number. Rephrase. Don't think that that huge number means a huge quantity. It's not. It's just that Dr. Schnee, breaks up the material into bite-sized pieces. Okay. So if it looks like I'm asking you to read a ton, it's more that you've got bite-sized pieces that make up, a pretty standard amount of reading to do. Okay, how are we doing? Questions, problems, confusions. Okay. I don't know how to pronounce this name. Boer.
It's a war.
Boer. Thank you. Oh, lovely. Okay. Now, when I say people's names, I think I've got it right and I get all excited and I'm all super proud of myself and then they laugh at me. But can I try it one more time and promise you'll tell me if I've got it right?
Sure.
Okay. Boer.
Right. Good.
Are you sure? Don't say it just to try to be nice to me. Here's the thing. It's not that I don't want to get people's names right. I'm just terrible at pronunciation. I can't even pronounce my own name right. So it's not that I'm, I in no way do I mean to be disrespectful. But okay, so Boer asks a wonderful question. I bought the textbook. Can I get a refund? Yes. You should see at the bottom of the textbook website an email for Ian Schnee. I don't know why I keep calling him Schnee. Ian Schnee. And you might just pop him an email and say, I'm in Mia's class where we've got the free textbook for this semester. Can I get a refund? And that shouldn't be any problem at all. Anybody else? Okay, so like I said, we are. Hold on, just 1 second, because I want to check my schedule here. Okay, so to recap, here are big ticket items for today, and then we'll do a little bit of anticipating or foreshadowing, or I don't know what the word is that I want now. I can't think about it. Spoiler alerts for Thursday. So recap of today. We know that with the exception of the Logic Course Adventure textbook, interactive web-based textbook, everything we do is done in Canvas, right? We also know that we are kind of doing the same stuff every week in the sense that we've got some text to read, some optional videos to watch, and almost every week some assessment to complete. What else do we know? We know that we've got 10 quizzes over the course of the semester to complete. Each quiz is open for a period of time during which you can take the quiz over and over and over again. Once the quiz is closed, then you can check the answers. What I haven't provided is any kind of intense discussion or feedback for each of the exercises, which is something I ordinarily do. But I figure that we will end up talking about this stuff enough to where any question that might arise from the quiz we will address. So anyway, quiz closes, quiz closes, answers are provided. You're then in a nice position to know what you need to do, practice more of, or review or whatever in preparation for the exam that covers that material. How many exams do we have? 4. And each of the 4 exams covers the prior material, that is the material leading up to it. So you want to access those quizzes and the answers as you're thinking about the exam. The exam is a one-shot deal. You can pretty much take it whenever you want, but to stay on schedule, plan to complete the exam on the due date. But you can complete it later if you want. So the exam is a one-shot deal, but there is a retest. So you're very welcome to retest an exam. You don't have to, but you can. And I take the highest of your 2 scores. Lastly, this course is a pretty intense study of principles, techniques, and methods of good reasoning. So our focus is pretty narrow but pretty deep. And we spend a lot of time developing what I think are some pretty prodigious analytical skills and some really, Mia? And some pretty prodigious strategic thinking skills. So that, wherever you are in your life, you should be able to draw on those. As we go forward, I hope that I get to know you a bit, know what your major is or what you're thinking about studying, know what your plans are, because I want to make sure that I support you as much as I am able. Lastly, for next week, and I'm wondering, let's see, I don't see Darcy. Okay. Lastly, for not next week, for Thursday, if you already have started the reading by the time we meet, awesome. If you haven't, don't worry. But please note that, like I said at the outset, if you want to come to class, can come to class, awesome, but there's no pressure. But if you want to drop in and out every now and then, you have a question, you want to drop in, then you leave, whatever, fine. Plan to sort of bring with you questions, problems, confusions. That said, I do have a plan for concepts and skills that I want us to highlight. So if I do end up yapping at you on any given day, it's generally because I want to make sure that you know what our big takeaways are. Okay. All right. So maybe the person that was going to come.
Hi, Professor. I have a question. This is Ziba.
Ziba, yes. Hi. Tell me.
I want to know, do we have extra credit for this course?
I'm sorry, say the last part again. I was sipping some tea and I got distracted.
Do we have extra credit?
That's a good question. I every now and then I'll throw out something for extra credit. Here's the short story. I don't have anything scheduled, but there's this program that Dr. Schnee is working on that I'm hoping we can test out together. That's entirely pertinent to a very important skill that we'll be working on in this class. And in that case, I will definitely offer extra credit through that. Otherwise, by and large, I don't have anything generally scheduled. I might throw out something every now and then, but nothing scheduled. I try to think of I do drop your lowest quiz score. Yeah, and then there are the retests. So I kind of think of those as in lieu of.
One more question.
Of course.
I mean, not the answer. For the first time, when I took the quiz, can I see my grade or no?
Of course. Yeah. So there are some, so generally, people in this course fall into one of two camps. So what you're saying has prompted me to say this now. If you take the first quiz and you go, easy peasy, you're done. And then you take the exam, easy peasy, and you keep going, and you find it, very unchallenging, right? If that's the case, you fall into the camp of people who don't understand the rest of us. The rest of us are the ones who are just ripping out our hair. We're struggling. We don't get it. It's really hard. There are drawbacks and benefits to being in each camp. So as you're working, Ziba, think about, do I get this? Do I just get it? Does it seem obvious to me? And if that's you, your challenge is going to be able to articulate what you just get to those of us who don't just get it, right? Because that's the hard part for you. The hard part for us who don't just get it is getting it. But then once we do, we can explain it.
Thank you so much, Professor.
Thank you. All right, so if you have any questions, problems, confusions, let me know. I am here to help. I want you to be successful. I want you to be successful, not just in this class, but all over the place. So if there's something I can do to support you, count me in. Otherwise, I hope I'll see you on Thursday. Have a good one, everybody.